Hey folks, it's Ray with Taste Radio. Right now, I am supremely honored to be sitting down with Wyatt Russell and Richard Peete, the co-founders of Lake Hour. Wyatt, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Richard, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, Wyatt, you told me before we hopped in the mics that you are in Europe right now, and I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you're probably just living in chaos right now in one of the most beautiful continents in the world.
It is. It's wonderful. I'm working doing a Marvel movie. So
Oh, okay.
we're doing yeah, that's news I can share. But we're out here. I'm in London filming a movie. So seems to be a lot of movies are filming out here these days. There's a lot of people working in Europe.
Oh, interesting. And Rich, how are you? Where are you based now?
Good. I'm in New York, gearing up for a shoot in Vancouver. I'm moving out there in a couple weeks to go shoot a film.
You're moving to Vancouver.
Well, for 4 months I'll be out there. So yeah,
Okay. Well, I guess that's a bit of a short-term move, as it were.
yes,
Yeah.
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 Well, people who are listening probably are aware of both of you. You've done quite a bit over the last few years in Hollywood, and certainly with the excitement and all the popularity around the Marvel movies and specifically Thunderbolts. I think there are folks who are just really excited that we have you on the podcast, and I think for the most part, whenever I talk to folks who are actors and then entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who become actors, um, there's always that question of, which is more difficult. And so right off the bat, I'd love to hear from you. Between Hollywood and the beverage alcohol industry, what's been more difficult to navigate, Wyatt?
Um, it's always hard to say because I've been in film for almost 16 years. So it's the comparison is a little different where we've only been doing Lake Hour now for what, 2.5 years. Um, it's really apples and oranges. The difference is every time you do a film, there's an end. So there's like an end in sight where, okay, you do one movie, takes 3 or 4 months, 5 or 6 months, whatever the show, however long it takes, and then it finishes and it's either good when it comes out or it's not. But then you move on and you continue to a new project. With this, the difference was there's new projects within projects, but there's this thing just goes. It doesn't like end. And so you have to continually add to it and build it, but there's no end in sight. And that was very different and very hard for me to understand when it got to, like, I'd say month 6, and it was like, oh wow, okay, this is different. Like, this is different. This is a different kind of difficult. So it's really hard to answer that question. Um, but they're both difficult in different ways and both rewarding in different ways. It's just so hard. I mean,
We were sort
what
of
would you
naive
say?
too. Why? Like, because when we first started, we thought like we would just have to like make a logo and a box, and then we'd be done. We're like, we'll just do like a branding exercise, and then we tried our first round of flavors, and we're like, oh, these aren't good. Now we have to like develop the flavors and make sure this thing tastes good so that we can sell it. And then we're like, once we have the logo and it tasting good, like we'll be done. And then we're like, oh wait, now we have to find a distributor and all these distributors. Once we get the distributors, then they'll handle all the selling. And now we're like, oh shit, like the selling part and continuing up and new flavor innovations that were like it's more work now than it was, designing a logo. Now that we have like a team of people and
Yeah, and then you have all the good stuff. People are selling it, and you're like, well, we need marketing because people need to hear about it, and so and everything has to work in conjunction. And sometimes distributors aren't like the world's most driven people, and you need to make sure that they're incentivized. And it's a constant battle that you just never seem to feel like you're winning, but then at the end of the day you like look down and you're like, okay, you take your wins and then you start to build on them. But
it's kind
it's
of like when you're making the movie, it feels like you're never winning. And then all of a sudden you like when you take a step back and you're like, oh wow, look at this movie we just made. And or like, why not just step back and be like, wow, look at this, like this like it's out in the world and we're selling like hundreds of thousands of cans of this thing that we just came up with in a hot tub as like a joke. And yeah, it's very yeah, just fun to like see this thing out in the world and have something that we made. Because when we're doing movies, you're always kind of reporting back to a studio or a director, and like this is ours. Like we get to decide which flavors and what it looks like and how it's talked about, and it's, you know, it always come, we're the directors of this project, which is really fun. And yeah, so it started out as being like something for us, and we're like, oh, this would be just kind of a boutiques, you know, fun little side project. And then it was actually at BCB where we met you. We found like there were so many other people that wanted something like this, and it was like distributors and bars and restaurants. And so that was right when the writer strike hit, and we decided, we're like, all right, let's give this a go, and we'll try launching a couple states. And we've done a good job. We want to do like the, you know, inch wide, mile deep, and not grow too fast. So we're only in 8 states now, and we've been fighting off other distributors in states to really focus on the states that we're in right now.
Rich, you sound like a grizzled veteran of the beverage industry already. Inch wide, mile deep. Come on. Look
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you referenced BCB, Bar Convent Brooklyn, which is a big spirits and beverage alcohol event that's held annually in Brooklyn. And I met you guys there in 2023. I got to come clean, though, because when I came to the Lake Hour booth, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Love the branding, love the vibe. Your booth felt like a little bit of a lodge. But to be honest with you, I didn't know about you guys. I didn't have any context as to your backgrounds and experience in Hollywood. And certainly, Wyatt, I didn't know about your family's lineage. I imagine that can be kind of a relief sometimes, and people just don't know who we are. They just want to focus on the brand, the liquid itself. How much has your experience, how much has your backgrounds opened doors for you and helped build awareness for the brand?
To answer your first question, yeah, I think that was definitely intentional, like especially with Wyatt's fame, wanting it to be something that people can discover and are like, oh, cool, like Wyatt's the co-founder, like, but they like the brand and they like the drink first, and then they discover that Wyatt is a co-founder and co-CEO of this. Like, it's not like there's a lot of celebrity brands, and I think in beverage maybe a little bit like celebrity exhaustion of just like somebody holding a can and getting their picture taken. And like Wyatt is very much co-CEO with me, like doing all the tax compliance and like beverage tasting and research and interviewing all of our employees, and you know, is like in the weeds. So I think like that, and it's been fun. People discover Wyatt is a part of it. But then also people, when Wyatt messages like a key accounts manager on LinkedIn, they're like, oh shit, this is Wyatt Russell. They respond immediately, so that we, you know, that we get that advantage too.
That's where the advantage comes in more handy, or had come in more handy, especially when you're starting. Is when we were started, like for the first year and a half, I mean, it was just literally just Rich and I. And like we didn't have anybody else that was working for us. So we were doing everything. Like all and we had a bookkeeper and a social media manager, and then that was it. And so it was like, well, I'll call the, you know, buyer at Cub Foods in Minnesota, or I'll, you know, and when we did do that, like we got responses, and it was really exciting to see how that worked. And at the end of the day, like there is celebrity exhaustion, and it does still allow you to like have a foothold if you have a good product. And that's where in this category, it's been, I think, something that separates it from vodka or tequila or something else. There's a lot of people who have brands. If you're The Rock and you have 450 billion followers, like great, yeah. But if even people that have like 20, 50, 30 million followers, like it doesn't just like snap, turn on and work.
Or maybe they just have an Instagram at all.
Yeah, or maybe you just don't have Instagram at all, which I don't. But that was kind of the part of the brand that I enjoyed being selling, which is like turn your phone off and go get some drinks and sit around a fire and drink and have a good time and like be with your family, connect with people. Like that's what it's for. And party and have fun, you know, drink at all occasions. But like the idea was that this is a world and a brand that actually like helps me do the things that I want to do more of, which is spend time more time with my family, less time like doom scrolling on my phone. And so that was a really important part of the process of creating the drink and marketing the drink. The second part of like how does it open doors? It it only opens doors as much as like you want them to open, and it only opens doors as much as good as the liquid is. So if the liquid sucks, I've seen it many times with other people, like it just won't work. Doesn't matter, like for the most part. If you have a good idea and a good, good plan and good packaging, like it can work no matter who you are. Like look at BuzzBallz, just sold for a bajillion dollars to Sazerac. The woman who started it was a history teacher from Texas. She had an incredible packaging idea with a liquid that, love it or not, like it works for the demographic that it hits. And they can have those things on every 7-Eleven, like right up at the counter because of the packaging system. And that was very, very smart. So you have to find your foot in the door. Very rarely is it the celebrity. Like it has to be the liquid, it has to be the branding. The celebrity's nice, like it's a nice thing, but it doesn't always translate to like us, just making it work. You have to find the ways of making it work that are that transcend celebrity. I mean, you have to do that, otherwise it won't work.
Well, I think regardless, there has to be some alignment between the founders and the brand itself. And in the case of founders who have a background in acting or music or what have you, I use this word too much, and I'm sure you guys hear it all the time, authenticity. There has to be an authentic connection between the founder and the brand. I probably went off the rails a couple episodes back when I was talking about a brand called, well, it's called Betty Booze. Well, the product is called Betty Booze, and it was founded by a well-known actress, Blake Lively. I'll just say it because I've said it on the podcast before. And Blake Lively doesn't drink alcohol, but she sells an alcohol brand. So I feel like there's something wrong there. I feel like there's a bit of an authenticity problem there. With you guys, I feel like
we drink lots of alcohol.
You drink lots of alcohol. There
we
you
drink
go.
A ton of alcohol. And we both live on lakes.
There you go.
And we both can tell time.
Right. Well, yeah. and the fact that you don't have an Instagram account, Wyatt, I wonder actually, that's how people, I think, sometimes can say, oh, you know what, I see Wyatt or I see Rich, and they are doing these things. They are, drinking their own product on the lake, and, they do seem to live a lifestyle, and they do dress and have the appearance of people who, would be like our consumers. So is there a way that you guys try to establish a authentic connection in a marketing sense between you and the product itself?
I do Instagram on Lake Hour.
Okay.
So like, I don't believe personally in like just personal Instagram. I've had conversations that are very difficult about your personal Instagram and what you curate people to see. What I don't like about it is that it's a curated experience from myself or from other people. And all you're seeing for the most part is what people want you to see. If you want to be tricked by that and you want to live inside of that reality, then fine, go ahead. I have a private Instagram. I enjoy, seeing all the stuff on it. As a public figure, I give my art to people. They consume it. They do what they want with it. And then it's yours. I've made the choice in my life, Wyatt Russell, I am not a public figure. Like you do not have claim to my life. When I put my things out on Instagram, I'm either curating parts of my art, which I'd rather just have that be on TV and television, or I'm curating parts of a business. I don't want my entire Instagram personally to be Lake Hour because that would be disingenuous, because now that would only be used for selling a product. I'd rather do it on the Drink Lake Hour Instagram, which I think Instagram is a genius tool for using to sell things. If you have a business or have a lifestyle where that's how you've sold things and made your money. I think it's incredible. I think it's amazing. I have nothing against it. It's just that what I've chosen to do with my life artistically, how I've made my money and supported my family, is by being characters that disappear into roles. I don't want to put myself cooking eggs on Instagram. I don't care. I don't care what you think about it. And I don't care what I think about it. I don't want to live there. Good luck. But with Lake Hour, I love doing the Drink Lake Hour Instagram because it's like it's this fun world that I come from that's more me than anything, but that's what I do there. And it's very specific to Lake Hour, but it's me walking around in my backyard talking about Lake Hour, like walking around New York and, doing Lake Hour things. But that's more of my life than anything. But it's just not something that I'll ever, I've had these conversations too. It's funny because about 2 months ago, before Thunderbolts came out, I called my agency and I was like, should I do this? Should I get on Instagram? And they were like, well, here's, if you're going to post 2 times a week and you have to engage your audience and do this. And if you're not going to do that, I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm out. Like, we're good. We're good. Whoever does it, like, more power to you, but it's not for me. And, but I do love it. Like, it's not for me personally. It's kind of I have a bit of a, existential feeling about Instagram. Like it's this uploadable version of yourself that you're selling to the world, and you're selling your soul in a certain way. I'd rather just sell my soul to Lake Hour. That's all I've done, and it's all I enjoy to do, and it's given me a
But
lot.
it's just kind of us like goofing around. Like it's like we never wanted it to be like a thing where you're specifically like just like holding the can and it feels inauthentic. It's very much like us just like having fun with it, and which has been great. It's like people have been following and engaging with it. I think it's funny because like we work in film and that's our profession, but so people just assume we're good at like marketing, but that's like we like, make the stuff, we don't like put it out there. So if there's any CMOs listening, we're in the market because we 2 months ago we filmed like 30 commercials and we haven't released any of them. We're like, what do we do with them now? We have them like kicking around and they're like really funny. And we've got like Wyatt said, we did like a whole tour where it's like Wyatt's like slalom water skiing and catching a Lake Hour and chugging it and playing guitar up on stage and like doing all this stuff. And we're like, we have all of these assets. We just have to like figure out how to get them out to the world. So yeah, as we're working, we're going to do a Series A this fall, and yeah, we're on the market for a CMO.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. If you're a CMO listening and you're interested in working with two very chill guys, well, and the entire Lake Hour team, send your email to, I don't know, cmo@lakehour.com, or is that what it is?
Wyatt at lakehour.com.
Oh, there you go.
Wyatt at lakehour.com or Rich at lakehour.com.
Yeah.
Or Howdy at lakehour.com.
Well, based on all the discussion about Instagram, I won't ask you about TikTok or your TikTok strategy, but I will ask you about picking your spots because, I'm looking at your Instagram page right now, and I see Lake Hour in a variety of settings. Typically, similar folks or similar consumers. It's from Ray's Bar in New York City to folks drinking the product. Seems like on a campground to a couple bears fighting over a can of Lake Hour. It looks like as well. So
no bears were harmed in the filming of that.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. But who is this product for? I mean, I imagine when you started out, you had a sense of, hey, it's going to be for people like us, for Rich and Wyatt. And then you saw that maybe other people are interested in the brand, and you innovate to that consumer as well. I mean, you released recently a new line of vodka iced teas. You have a couple of varieties that I saw. You have an Earl Grey tea and a raspberry tea that both look really refreshing. And I imagine those are for your existing consumers, but also for new consumers. So long story short, how have you identified who's drinking this product and who perhaps will drink Lake Hour?
Yeah, it started for us, and we out of the gate we're like, all right, we're going to convert people like us and like beer drinkers to come and drink seltzers, and we were like, naively we're sort of like, we're going to get like the Busch Light drinkers who are 40, 50-year-old dudes to come and drink this sort of like Lake Hour thing. And have learned that, the Busch Light drinkers are kind of, they found their path and have kind of like, that's their lane, and have, but there's like a huge opportunity for people like millennials and people that are in their late 30s, like Wyatt and I, to discover these things. And it's been great to have High Noon and White Claw and some of these other ones pave the way. But it's like, and educate people on it. But it's also, we call it the "oh, actually" effect. Like, people have tried them and not liked them, and then when they try ours and it is more subtle and refreshing, they're like, "oh, actually, this is really good." And we do lots of tastings, and I think people either come in knowing that they like them, or knowing that they like RTDs or canned cocktails, or thinking that they've tried them all and don't like them. So yeah, the "oh, actually" effect is something that's been like,
and it's
for us.
and it's also been it's the, what like it started off for people like us, but then young kids, like I have a 21-year-old nephew. He's like, oh, all my friends in New York like the fucking love Lake Hour. They're so good because we have interesting flavors that like a young college student might look at and be like, hey, yeah, let me try Rosemary Yuzu, and it's like actually the one that's won all of our awards, and the drink is really good. Most people are like, what's Yuzu? Oh, it's a really good blend between a citrus and it's a citrus fruit, Japanese citrus fruit. It's not something that people necessarily pick up right away. Like when you're just walking by the store and you go, I want like a margarita lime. And so that part has been an education process. Like watermelon cucumber is by far our best seller, mostly because it's the most accessible. Now then you have two choices. You can just go with the most accessible flavors, which some companies have done and had success, or you can look at a more long-term, hopeful success plan where if you like Rosemary Yuzu, you are a Lake Hour customer. And that doesn't necessarily translate to like a 19 to 22-year-old who's going to college in the eastern part of the country. It translates to more of a 4-quadrant drink, which we call it in movies, where it's like, if you are a 47-year-old male who likes boating, or if you are a 21-year-old female who likes going to Ray's bar, Lake Hour has something for everybody. And it's fun. Part of what our booth was in BCB was like, it's like your first drink in your granddad's basement. And so it connects the branding, and the brand hopefully connects the generations, instead of it being like, there isn't a 50-year-old probably drinking BeatBox anywhere. No offense to BeatBox. We had a great drink, but that's a drink for a very specific crowd. Great. But there's a fun element of like, my 63-year-old grandmother can be drinking this, and I can be drinking this with my friends, and there's a connective tissue to it, and it's not just meant for a specific group of people. It's meant to bring, again, like a multitude of people around a campfire to have fun and drink and enjoy their time together. So
and
it's
with the teas too. We like. I had my nieces, Payne and Hannah, were like visiting 3 years ago and drinking twisted tea. And if we were a little bit wiser, we would have been like, "Oh, let's like do the Lake Hour version of a twisted tea back then," and we didn't. And Wyatt and I both like really like carbonated drinks, and have since there's like a big tea movement, and we still couldn't find, similar to starting our seltzers, we couldn't find a tea that we liked. So like, okay, what's the Lake Hour version of a tea? And we went to some R&D and found these more like unique flavors. Like the Earl Grey one is our number one seller right now. That's like, and it's whether you're a college kid or in your late 30s, that's been the one that like people have like I didn't even know what Earl Grey was, and they like love that one, which is cool. You're like, oh, this is fun. And I've become like a tea drinker. Like I've been reaching for the vodka iced teas more right now. And it's, I would have never thought that I'd like a non-carbonated canned cocktail like that was, so there's a little bit of like educating and learning, keeping our minds open to what could potentially be out there.
I want to bring up the description of your products, or at least the iced tea, Rich, which is a cocktail. Hard seltzers have taken a hit in how they are perceived by a lot of folks. I think people nowadays look at them as sort of a lesser than product because of the rise of canned cocktails and of more premium ingredients. How do you describe Lake Hour? What has really resonated with folks in terms of your nomenclature?
Right, we told you we're looking for a CMO.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really it's like $1 billion question because like hard seltzers the out there, but it's been going down. So in our variety pack is a we have three vodka seltzers and one tequila seltzer. But to say three vodka seltzers and one tequila seltzer is like a mouthful. So it's we're like, and then there's canned cocktails, but you also have like martinis and margaritas that are all canned. So that to us kind of feels more like a canned cocktail. So it's like that. It's interesting. We're still like figuring that out and doing like seeing what sticks the best. We have the vodka iced tea is very clear, but I think it's still like an education process and for the consumer and for us and like what the heck these things are called because it's different. It is more like a seltzer water that has vodka or tequila and like subtle flavors in it.
Yeah, well, I could offer my 2 cents,
Please.
but I'm not. I don't want to present myself as any kind of consultant. There's a lot of consultants in this industry. I'm sure you've met a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, how do you wade through it? Because there's a lot of people, I'm sure, when you started out, who presented themselves as one thing, and they're really not that thing. And there are some folks who offered a lot of really good advice, but at the end of the day, they can't partner with your company because for one reason or another. How do you figure out who to talk to, who to trust? Who to align yourselves with in this industry where everyone has their own opinion?
You just gotta kind of wade through the bullshit. I mean, there's really no other way. Like
We talk to
everybody,
everybody to
you
start,
talk to
yeah, and
everybody.
that's
Yeah.
and then you kind of wade through it, and it's been fun. We get connected to other like CEOs and co-founders that are like doing a nice thing probably because Wyatt's an actor and I'm a producer and they're like, oh, well, like, they're like, whatever, we'll hop on a 15-minute call. And then they realize that we're in the weeds and we're doing it and Wyatt's doing it. And then it ends up being like a 2 hour conversation, like a 2 hour Zoom where we're just like spitballing and helping each other. And it's fun because there's other like we talked to the founder of Archer Roose and like it was like a 2 hour conversation. She rules, super smart, and like we're kind of like the indie brands up against big beverage, and it's fun. Like let's all work together and brainstorm and talk about what's working and what's not, and how can we help brands that are starting. We're only a couple years old, but we've learned a lot in this window, and like happy to help educate some other founder or entrepreneur that's trying to get into the space and like try and be these indie brands out in the world.
And you still feel like an indie brand, which is awesome. I mean, losing that vibe, I think, Wyatt, when you talked about bridging the gap between generations and the nostalgic aspect of Lake Hour in terms of its branding and also its more modern type flavors, I think is a really great strategy to try to reach a lot of different people. But I think consumers also just appreciate when they feel like something is small or something is specific to them, that it's not really that broad and well known out there. It's something that they can own and they can share without everybody else knowing about it. Of
Yeah,
course, you want to be.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think you were just going to say it. Of course, you want to be at some point, something that everybody knows, and you can't survive. It's fun to do indie movies, but personally, I've never made an indie movie that's, you know, blown it out of the box office. It's always like a great experience, but at the end of the day, you do have to make money, and you do have to grow. You have to grow correctly, and you have to grow to a point where people see what your brand is. Stores carry your brand, and your brand is available enough so that you can survive, and you're not constantly picking here and picking there, and and trying to get into this place and get into that place and clawing to survive. But it's keeping the heart of the organization. And there's a couple, brands that I think have been able to do that, like Two Hearted Ale is a great one. Bell's is, I point to beer. Fat Tire, they've been sold, but
Surfside,
they still,
Surfside is doing a great job of it. Like
Surfside isn't they
yeah,
still are, independent and doing it. But like Fat Tire was acquired, and they kept their Fat Tire feel. And so, we always said we sort of aim to be the Fat Tire of seltzer, of hard seltzers, and vodka iced teas, as we are now. But that core that comes from just time And like you said earlier, authenticity, you just can't lose it. You just don't want to lose it, and you have to kind of work hard sometimes not to lose it, but it's really important not to.
Yeah, we sort of joke that it's like we're in the indie films stage right now. So it's like you're just, everyone's wearing all the hats and you don't have enough money to do the things. And like your hair's on fire. And like, what do we do today? Like, how do we just survive the day? And that's like the indie film version. And then eventually start doing like the studio movies where everything's a little bit more corporate and buttoned up and all of that stuff. And it's still, it's still a fun job and you're still like get your voice in to the film and get to do the things, but it's like that exciting chaotic feeling is gone. And so if hopefully we're in a place where Lake Hour is to the studio version at some point, and we've already been hiring a C-suite and we just raised $1 million on a safe, but it's we're now like to the next tier of the film experience. So yeah, we'll eventually get to the studio version, but like right now, like it's just every day I'm like, totally enjoying the putting out the fires, the chaos. Oh shit, what are we gonna do? We gotta get this billboard. We have to do this thing, and it's like it's really it's fun. Like I love that stuff, and I don't really make as many indie films anymore, but like I kind of miss that chaos in the film space. So this is our version of that now.
Wyatt, Rich, oftentimes when I do interviews with folks that I have only met briefly or I'm only tangentially connected to, I'm never really sure what I'm going to get out of the interview. I always hope it's going to be a good conversation, and most of the time it is a great conversation. In this case, it's an exceptional conversation. I really feel like this has been a lot of fun. You guys have been totally transparent and honest and excited about what you're doing, which is awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck with everything going forward, and I hope to meet again in person real soon.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, really lovely talking to you.